Dublin City Council in recent times has come under sustained criticism for calling its end-of-year special lighting display winter lights instead of Christmas lights. Is it important to recognise the traditional meaning of Christmas, or should these lights be more accommodating and inclusive for all? Well, Peadar Tobin is the leader of Ain 2 and he is on the line now. Peadar, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Claire. Appreciate it.
Why are so many people worked up about this?
Yeah, so it is quite incredible how many people are worked up about this. And it's also incredible that DCC have remained so tone deaf on this issue. I've never seen a public body so determined to ignore a kind of a public backlash and carry on regardless in relation to an issue. Like, these Christmas lights should be a good news story. Instead, they've been turned into a controversy by a kind of bullheaded attitude by Dublin City Council to rename them into winter lights. And, you know, obviously, Christmas is a significant cultural tradition in this country. Many people who don't darken the door of a church from one end of the year to the other still really love the idea of Christmas and the joy that Christmas brings, and the fact that it brings people together in the darkness of winter. And yet, you know, we've had this effort by the establishment in recent years to kind of, you know, delete or dilute certain cultural aspects of the country. You know, a couple of years ago, we had an effort by the Lord Mayor to actually get rid of the Christmas crib outside of the Mansion House. You know, we've seen kind of books come into the school curriculum which kind of, you know, do down the idea of an Irish family, etc. And there's a tone deafness there. People want a pluralist society. They want a society where people can be who they are, to, you know, no matter who they are, to any extent that they want. But they're also unifying cultural aspects of our society, like Christmas, and people, you know, want to see those remain and intact and celebrated as well.
In your article, Peadar, somebody has taken one of the lines you said and put it as the headline: winter lights, let's not dilute Christmas with bland, joyless, woke uniformity that means nothing to anybody. But we don't have uniformity across Ireland anymore. Not everybody is Christian and not everybody is celebrating Christmas in that way. So should we not have something that recognises that?
So I suppose for sure we do have many different types of Irish people, and as I said earlier, they all need to be able to be who they are in this country without fear or favour. But there's many other countries such as Greece and Italy and Spain, you know, where obviously, let's say, practice of faith has fallen significantly in the last number of decades, but they're still quite proud of their Christian heritage. And, you know, it's quite interesting that people who are new to Ireland, for example, like people from the Muslim faith and other people who are, you know, from different faiths, Dr. Umar Al-Qadri, for example, the chairman of the Irish Muslim Council, he has said, you know, this is part of the tradition that exists in this country. It's part of the heritage that exists in this country, and it should be celebrated. And here's the weird thing, right? So if we get to, like, people often say they want a pluralist society. So for a pluralist society, we have to dilute these types of traditions and cultural aspects of our society. But that's not pluralism. That actually, you know, deleting or diluting cultural differences is the opposite to pluralism. Pluralism means that, you know, countries can be, you know, have their heritage and have their differences. You know, for years people have talked about the need for diversity, and here we have cultural diversity, and some aspects of society want to delete that cultural diversity and make it, you know, what I would call a kind of joyless uniformity. And I think that's a mistake. And, you know, it's also funny that just during the presidential election, for example, some of the commentators on the radio and the television were saying that they were glad that Catherine Connolly had opened her speech in English, because if she had spoken Irish first, it would be non-inclusive. But it's these cultural aspects of Ireland that add to the diversity of society, and that kind of pressure to have a uniform conformity with the rest of the world, that makes the world a blander place. It makes it less interesting. It makes it less different and less diverse. And I think that pressure is happening in Ireland at the moment. And as a result, it's quite clear people are pushing against it. Like, this is not the most important thing in the world. In many ways, like, bread and butter issues are far more important on it. But if you're listening to people on the street or you're meeting them talking about it, they're furious over this kind of stuff happening in their country.
Atheist Ireland. Michael, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
What is your take on this?
Well, traditions evolve over time, and part of the tradition of Christmas today is just this, debating whether the word Christmas is religious or secular. And I don't have a problem using the word Christmas in a secular sense. You know, I can say goodbye without meaning God be with you, and I can do things on a Thursday without celebrating Thor. And I think it would be okay for the City Council to use the word Christmas in a secular sense, as long as it isn't overtly pushing religion during a secular festival in the way, say, the state allows the Catholic Church to run our schools or makes the President swear a religious oath or RTE broadcasting a Catholic call to prayer every day. But that's not what's happening here. What's happening here is that Dublin City Council has organised the Dublin Winter Lights Festival since 2018 without any controversy. And it highlights interactive light installations and artwork and so on. It's not about Christmas. It's about winter, which is dark and therefore suitable for light displays. And it's not just for Christians. It's for everybody, regardless of their religious or non-religious beliefs. So ironically enough, this particular controversy is not about people changing a religious festival into a secular one. It's about some Christians trying to make a secular festival about their religious beliefs.
Yeah, I want to take a moment to read a statement from Dublin City Council. As you say, they first took place in 2018, initially called Winter Lights, then changed to Dublin Winter Lights, and they go up all around the city, and at no stage were they ever called the Christmas lights. Many of the designs for the lighting projections also do not have a Christmas theme, with art pieces created by recognised artists helping to illuminate the city during winter and festive periods. There is a misconception among some of the general public. The Dublin City Council renamed this festival from Christmas Lights to Winter Lights, but this is not the case. The festival has always been called Winter Lights, and the festival has included elements of the Christmas festive period in its programming and its marketing. Much of the hostility around the subject comes from online misinformation sources who claim that Dublin City Council changed the name of the festival from Christmas to winter. And if people want to find out more information, you can go to dublinwinterlights.ie. Michael, Patter spoke about diluting, and I suppose there is a case for it, just because there would be called Christmas lights. You know, let's just put aside that they were never called Christmas lights, but we were to propose it for next year. Would that seriously impact on people who weren't celebrating Christmas in the Christian way? Well, what difference would it make?
Well, it wouldn't make any difference, but you wouldn't consider changing it to another religious name. I mean, why the Christians don't have priority in a country just because they're a majority within the country. And even given that majority, it's largely a nominal majority, because a minority of people actually go to Christian masses, a minority of people get married in Christian churches. So Christianity in real terms is a minority within the country. But it's not about majorities and minorities, it's about celebrating the Midwinter Festival, which was celebrated by pagans and Norse and other cultures to celebrate the turn of the seasons and the rebirth of life long before Christianity existed. It was only 3 centuries after Jesus that Christians decided to make 25th of December the date that Jesus was born, to help people convert more easily from those festivals to their own. You know, the word Christmas only arrived around the 16th century, and in the 1930s Coca-Cola rebranded Santa Claus as this plump red-suited man with a white beard, which has more or less taken over the branding from now on. So Christmas has evolved over the years. It's now two things. For some Christians, it is a religious festival where they primarily celebrate what they believe is the birth of Jesus, and that's fine. They're perfectly entitled to do that, and I completely support the right to do it. But for most people, Christmas, whatever you call it, is a secular midwinter break where we meet family, exchange gifts, and celebrate the turn of the season.
Yeah. I have John Hamill on the line, secular campaigner. John, what's your reaction to this?
Well, I think I largely agree with my friend Michael. I don't tend to object to the word Christmas. I wish people a happy Christmas. But what I object to in what Potter described is his repeated reference to non-Christian perspectives being, I think he used the terms bland and joyless. Those are very pejorative adjectives to associate with non-Christian views of the world. But in general, I think Christmas isn't really very Christian anyway, but most of the things we associate with Christmas, the tree, the Yule log, kissing under the mistletoe, the holly wreath. All of these things have pagan origins, and in fact, the Bible explicitly forbids believers to bring trees into their house and decorate them. So yeah, I mean, it's largely a pagan festival anyway. The only thing Christian about Christmas is the crib, really. So yeah, I don't object to the crib either. I think it would be good if we want to make it Christian, to make it more accurate. What the Gospel of Luke says is that after Mary gave birth, she was considered to be unclean. So she had to go to the temple and sacrifice 2 doves to absolve her uncleanliness after giving birth. So if we want to make it Christian, we should have Mary stabbing a couple of doves to death in the crib. That would make it more authentically Christian. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it the way it is.
That would certainly set the cat among the pigeons, as it were.